Hi, Dr. Heather here from Wellspring Chiropractic Lifestyle Center. Today we are talking about concussion. And many people are more aware of concussion ever since the movie Concussion came out with Will Smith a few years ago. And that has been great because there actually have been rule changes that have occurred in sports because of it. But there's a lot that people still don't know about concussion. And people don't necessarily know how widespread it is. 5 million concussions are happening annually every year here in the United States. And 2 million of those concussions every year are in middle and high school students. That's actually the largest group that is getting the concussions is in the middle and high school students. And the number one age group is the 10 to 14-year-olds. They have the most concussions of anybody. And then it's about half as much of that in high school, and then about half as much of that in professional athletes. So a lot of the attention goes towards the professional athletes, but actually we need to pay closer attention to what's happening with our grade schoolers. We also need to notice that women's sports actually has a much higher percentage of concussions than the men, because oftentimes the sports they're involved with, they have a lot of impact that's part of it, but it's not necessarily ones where they would be wearing a helmet. Things like basketball, volleyball, and even cheerleading is in that category as well. And so we have to pay close attention to that. Also, we know that 1 in 5 players before they leave high school will have gotten a concussion. 1 in 5. So that percentage is so high. And what's also not recognized very much is that 33% of concussions happen during practice. Yeah. So there's a different culture that's happening when we're in a game and everybody's on, and that's when the athletic trainers are there and the PTs are there and so on. Whereas in practice, everybody's doing their own thing and they may not be paying attention to one kid that then falls down and concusses his head or gets slammed. And so, it may be a budgetary problem that we just don't have the funding to support that. I'm not blaming anybody, but I just want to recognize that 33% is happening actually in practice. And then recognize that there are 2 different types of sports that may involve concussion. There's the obvious collision sports like football, but then there are the other contact sports that actually have a high rate of concussion as well. Basketball or lacrosse, literally the defensive players are told that when that basketball is being dribbled down the court and you're the defensive person, you're there to just stand your ground and don't move and just be charged and don't move. And that's when a lot of the concussions are happening. Same thing can happen with soccer, with lacrosse. So between contact and collision, many times we don't recognize that the contact sports have just as much of a concussion risk as the collision sports do. 70% of high school athletes have actually admitted to playing with concussion symptoms, and 90% of most diagnosed concussions actually don't even involve a loss of consciousness. So there's a lot of misunderstanding with it. That ambiguity actually goes in the other direction now as well, where we have parents that are hypersensitive about concussion and athletes that want to get back in the game, but they're being held back because everybody's too worried. Is it ready? Are they ready to go back into play? So sometimes they actually are ready, but they're just not sure, so they're being kept out of play now. So it's very interesting that it's going in both directions at the same time because there is so much ambiguity that's out there. Athletes being kept out of play, athletes being put back into play too soon, and then second concussion syndrome is another concern as well. That means having one concussion and then before you're healed up, you go back into play too soon and then you're getting the second one. And that can have devastating effects, literally killing athletes because of that second concussion syndrome. We also want to recognize that when there is concussion or jarring of the head, it can actually affect the upper cervical spine and the neck as well. And so when somebody has a whiplash type of accident, the amount of G's of force that are involved with whiplash is 4 to 10 G's. But with concussions, the G force is 90 G's of force. in a concussion. And so it's a much higher level of impact. And so not only can it affect the brain, but it can also affect the neck, and it can cause some problems in the upper cervical spine, which is right where the brainstem lives. So I hope this helps you to understand the importance of us really looking closely at this whole concern of concussion, whether it's in sports or from motor vehicle accidents or military or even domestic abuse. There's lots of ways that concussions are happening, and we have to be able to recognize them. And then let's remove the ambiguity that's out there. And there's some tools that we have that can do that. So I look forward to sharing more with you soon. Please share this with others so that they can be helped by this as well.